Choosing the right kitchen flooring can feel a little overwhelming. There are so many materials, so many finishes, so many options. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact way I approach it with clients, breaking it down into two clear sections. And if you haven't already, I'd recommend watching my video on the most popular kitchen flooring options alongside this one. That will give you a broader overview of the materials themselves, and this will help you narrow it down strategically. How to choose your kitchen flooring. When I guide someone through choosing their flooring, I always separate the conversation into two parts: material consideration and design selection. Because if you get the material wrong, no design will fix it. And if you get the design wrong, even the best material just won't feel right. And before we start, just to say, there's no best flooring. That's why there's so many options. It all comes down to what best suits your home and your lifestyle. And that's why you've got to work through all these questions and considerations. Kitchen flooring material considerations. As I said, material first, design second. So let's take a look at the questions and considerations you need to think about and go through to help select your flooring material. Durability and traffic. Start by asking yourself a very honest question. How hard does your kitchen actually have to work? Is it a light use space where you cook occasionally, or is it the heart of a busy family home with constant foot traffic? If your current floor is covered in scratches and stains, that's a clue that you might need something tougher in your new kitchen. Materials like porcelain tile and high-quality laminate or vinyl are excellent for durability. Porcelain in particular is incredibly hard-wearing and resistant to scratching. Luxury vinyl tiles or LVT are also surprisingly resilient and more forgiving when something heavy hits the floor. And a quick note on natural stone: yes, they're beautiful and timeless, but not all stone is created equal. Marble and sandstone, for example, are considered softer stones. They're still durable, but they can scratch or etch more easily over time, especially in busy kitchens. That doesn't mean avoid them altogether, it just means go in with some realistic expectations. Durability isn't about finding the strongest material of all time, it's about finding the right strength for your lifestyle. So be honest with yourself. How durable do you need your flooring to be? Moisture resistance. Next question, how splashy are you? Spills from the sink, pet bowls on the floor, or bringing in wet clothes from a rainy walk. Some households are very careful and pay attention to all this water. Others, less so. Also, what type of climate do you live in? Is it dry, moderate, or damp? If moisture is a daily reality, you need flooring that can handle it. Vinyl flooring and porcelain tiles are standout performers here. They're highly water resistant, often fully waterproof, and they won't swell, warp, or stain from the occasional spill. Hardwood or some laminates, on the other hand, need more care. Water left sitting on the surface can cause issues over time. That doesn't mean you can't use wood in a kitchen, it just means you need to understand the likely issues and maintenance commitments. Maintenance and cleaning. Speaking of maintenance, what's your cleaning tolerance? Do you want something you can quickly mop and forget about, or are you happy to give your floor a little bit more attention? Vinyl tiles and laminate are generally very low maintenance. Natural stone, however, often requires sealing and specific cleaning products. Using the wrong cleaner can actually damage the surface over time. And then there's grout. If you're choosing tile, grout color and grout width matter. Light grout can discolor, and wider grout lines can often mean more cleaning. So sometimes this maintenance conversation isn't just about the tile itself, it's about what's between the tiles. Comfort and ergonomics. This one can sometimes be a little bit underestimated, but how much time do you actually spend standing in your kitchen? Hard surfaces like tile and stone are durable, but they're also a little bit unforgiving. If you stand for long periods, your feet and back will start to notice. Softer materials like luxury vinyl tiles or cork offer more give underfoot. They absorb a bit of the impact, they feel warmer, and they're generally more comfortable over long stretches. And the temperature of the floor can matter too. Stone and porcelain can feel cold, especially in winter. wood and cork tend to feel warmer and more natural. Obviously, underfloor heating can change this equation entirely, but that's another consideration we'll get onto in a minute. Comfort isn't just about luxury, it's about how your kitchen feels physically, and that feeling becomes very important over time and the more you use your kitchen. Budget. Flooring costs can vary massively. At one end, you've got cost-effective options like laminates and vinyl, and at the other end, you've got natural stone and solid hardwood. And the gap between them can be quite significant. And it's not just the material cost, it's the installation costs as well. Some materials are relatively quick and straightforward to fit, others are labor-intensive, and you may also need to factor in subfloor preparation as well, things like leveling compounds, moisture barriers, or additional underlay. So sometimes the cheaper flooring can become more expensive once installation is added. So when comparing options, always look at the full installed cost, not just the price per square meter of the material. That's where the realistic budgeting happens. Installation requirements. So this leads nicely into installation. Ask yourself, am I realistically going to DIY this, or is this a professional job? Click-clock vinyl or laminate planks can be suitable for confident DIYers as they're designed to be a little bit more forgiving. But natural stone tiles, large porcelain slabs, or solid hardwood, those typically required skilled installers. And with these types of material, precision matters. Uneven tiles, poor alignment, or badly finished edges, you'll see it every day. Some materials also demand more prep work before they even go down. So ask yourself and find out if your room is even suitable for certain installation requirements. Make sure you check exactly the level of work that is involved for the material that you're thinking about. Environmental considerations. For some people where sustainability is a major factor, look at low VOC or volatile organic compounds, renewable materials, and responsibly sourcing the materials. Bamboo and cork are popular eco-conscious options because they come from fast-growing renewable sources. And certain woods, when FSC certified, are responsibly managed and more sustainable. There's also linoleum, which sometimes gets confused with vinyl for some reason, but traditional linoleum is made from linseed oil and natural materials, not PVC. And that makes it a more environmentally friendly option in many cases. And if indoor air quality matters to you, or if you're particularly susceptible to these sorts of things, checking the certifications and emissions ratings is a very smart move as it affects the environment you're living in every day. Underfloor heating compatibility. If you're considering underfloor heating, this needs to be decided earlier, not after you've already fallen in love with a material and it doesn't work particularly well with it. Tile and concrete perform particularly well with underfloor heating. They conduct and retain the heat very well. Luxury vinyl is often compatible too, but you just need to check with the manufacturer's guidelines. Solid hardwood, however, generally not recommended. Heat can cause expansion and contraction, leading to warping over time. Engineered wood tends to be a lot more stable with underfloor heating, but again, just confirm that compatibility. So if warmth underfoot is important to you, factor that into your material decision from the start. Property style. Now, I think this one sits across both material and design, but I've put it on the list here. What type of property are you working with? A Victorian terrace, a 1930s semi, a period farmhouse, or a modern new build? Some homes have strong architectural identities, and your flooring can either honor that or intentionally contrast it. In period properties, natural stone, timber planks, or even patterned tiles can feel authentic and sympathetic to the era. Contrast can also be powerful. Sleek polished concrete in a traditional townhouse, or large format porcelain in a rustic cottage. Modern materials in older spaces can create beautiful tension when done thoughtfully. The goal is always balance. You don't want something that feels completely disconnected from the architecture, but you also may not want to replicate the past exactly. So respect the property type you have, understand its bones, then decide whether you want to complement or contrast it, but do it intentionally. Kitchen flooring design considerations. So, material determines how your floor performs, design determines how your kitchen feels, your kitchen design aesthetics. Start by asking yourself, what is the overall mood of your kitchen? Is it modern and minimal, rustic and textured, traditional and detailed, or calm and contemporary, or something else entirely? Your flooring should support that story and not fight it. For example, sleek handleless cabinetry often pairs beautifully with large format porcelain or seamless finishes, and shaky kitchens might suit timber planks or natural stone. With the huge range of materials and finishes available now, you can find almost any look in multiple formats. The key question is, does this flooring enhance the design of your kitchen or distract from it? Because remember, this is probably the largest surface area in the room, and it has presence. Contrast. Contrast can be quite a powerful tool, but it needs to be deliberate. So ask yourself the simple question of whether you want the floor to stand out or blend in. High contrast can create some drama. A dark slate or charcoal floor against light cabinetry can make quite a bold statement. Contrast can also be used a little more subtly, texture against smooth finishes or warm wood against cool painted units. It doesn't always have to be color. Sometimes it's a contrast in the material or the texture. Again, the key is balance. Too much contrast and the space can feel very busy, and too little and it may feel a little bit flat. So decide if you want to have that contrast in your kitchen. Monochromatic schemes. Now, let's flip that idea completely. Instead of contrast, what about cohesion? A more monochromatic flooring choice creates a seamless, often sophisticated feel that works particularly well in smaller kitchens. When your cabinetry, walls, and flooring sits within a similar tonal family, the space can start to feel a little bit larger than it really is, as the eye isn't interrupted by strong visual breaks. Now, that doesn't mean everything has to be identical. Monochromatic design is about variation within one color or tonal family. Slightly different shades, different textures, or slightly different finishes. You might have warm beige cabinetry with a slightly deeper beige stone floor, or soft mid-grey units paired with a lighter concrete look tile. The goal is for it to feel layered and not flat. Continuity with adjoining rooms. So zoom out a bit. Is your kitchen a standalone room, or does it flow into dining, living, or hallway spaces? In open plan homes especially, continuity can really matter. Using the same flooring throughout adjoining spaces creates a seamless transition. No visual breaks, no harsh lines, and no sort of stop-start feeling. Makes the entire area feel much larger. Even in partially open layouts, carrying the flooring through can unify the home beautifully. And if you're lucky enough to have patio or bifold doors leading outside, this is where I think things can get really exciting. Using the same or very similar flooring indoors and out can visually extend the room to the outside. And many porcelain or natural stone tiles can work particularly well for this, as many of them can be indoor and outdoor tiles. This look helps to blur the boundary between inside and outside, and it strengthens the connection with nature. And when it's done well, I think this looks really incredible. So consider the continuity between your kitchen and the rest of your home. Patterned flooring. Now let's talk about some personality. Patterned flooring can really transform a kitchen, can introduce more movement, energy, and a lot more character to a space. From geometric style tiles to patterned vinyl, there are loads of options out there. Classic layout patterns like herringbone or chevron in a wood or tile add timeless interest without feeling too trendy. If you want something a little bit more contemporary, bold graphic patterns can turn your floor into a bigger statement piece. Again, balance is the key. If the floor is the focal point, let it breathe. Keep cabinetry and walls a little bit more restrained, because too many competing elements can feel chaotic. Pattern flooring works best when it's intentional, not haphazard with everything else. Plain flooring. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, plain flooring can be incredibly powerful. Simple, neutral surfaces create a calm foundation. They allow your cabinetry, worktops, or even lighting to take center stage. This approach often works beautifully in minimalist or Scandinavian-inspired kitchens, where the focus is on clean lines, natural light, and that subtle texture rather than pattern. And plain flooring doesn't mean that it's boring, it means that it's refined. A large format stone-like tile in a soft, warm grey, wide oak planks with a subtle grain. It's all about adding some depth without distraction. And sometimes that little bit of restraint is what makes a kitchen feel timeless. Mixing flooring materials. Mixing your flooring materials can be a great way to define different zones within your kitchen or the room at large. For example, tile in your cooking area and wood in your dining area. This approach is often used in open plan layouts as you can visually separate spaces without building walls. It can add a little bit more interest and oftentimes a little bit more practicality too. Like the tile and wood example I just said, you could use a more waterproof, stain-resistant material in the high splash area of your kitchen and then transition to something warmer and softer underfoot for the dining area. The trick to this, though, is in the transition. It needs to feel deliberate. It needs some thoughtful placement, somewhere that makes sense visually as well as practically. When done well, mixed flooring adds both function and some more visual interest. What flooring do you just love? And finally, after all the technical considerations, after the durability talk, after the layout discussions, ask yourself one simple question. What flooring is it that you just love? Because you can analyze all the different flooring types endlessly, but at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to be living with it. If you just love the warmth of natural wood, if you're drawn to the cool elegance of concrete, or if bold patterned tiles just make you smile, it all matters. Your kitchen flooring should reflect your personality, your lifestyle, and your taste. Because ultimately, that's what makes it your kitchen. As I said at the start, if you haven't done so already, I'd highly recommend watching my video on some of the most popular kitchen flooring options alongside this video. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.